How do I structure a lease to protect myself from common landlord mistakes? I would say use a attorney-reviewed lease that is state-specific to the state that you're investing in. So if you're in Virginia, you want to talk to a Virginia real estate attorney, specifically a real estate attorney, and ask for a lease that they have reviewed and that they feel is best for your use. When you're speaking with that attorney, tell them about specific things that you're concerned about, you're worried about, and ask if that lease protects that. You also want to talk to other investors and talk about some other pain points or issues that they've had with tenants. And then you can go back to the attorney and see if they can work that in your lease. Once you've developed a lease template that covers your concerns, over time, being an experienced landlord, as you hear different things, you can work different things or have your attorney work different things into your lease. So I would say you might start with a generic lease if no one else shares their lease with you. That is attorney reviewed and it's state specific, and then add in based on experience. Now, you don't want to add every single pain point that you have, but it's very easy from a legal aspect to just include general statements that protect you as a landlord that cover multiple things. So you don't have to get super specific and have, 30 different page lease, no three-legged cats that aren't potty trained, like these type of things. You can get very specific with animal policy and things like that to protect yourself. So you definitely want to pay attention to the VRLTA as a landlord. Make sure your lease is compliant with that. Be extremely clear on maintenance responsibilities. You do not want to stay too generic on maintenance responsibilities. Talk about your HVAC filters, your yard maintenance, gutter cleaning, late fees, utilities, pest control. It's just all kinds of things that you want to be very clear about responsibilities as a landlord, especially things that could be gray areas. Put it in the lease. And I would say don't try to hide it in the lease either. Don't make it one sentence in the middle of a big paragraph. You don't want to have to recall that to a tenant who feels like it's been hidden from them. I will assume that tenants are just not going to read, they're just going to skim the lease. And so when I really need them to know something so that we have a good relationship and a good experience, I put it in bold, I'll put it in all caps, I'll put it at the beginning. It can be its own paragraph or its own sentence that sticks out. And so instead of trying to hide these things, make it very obvious whose responsibility it is. Therefore, when you do have to resort to the lease and kind of show the tenant where that is, it doesn't look like you've tried to hide it. You're on the same page. You can still be on the same team and they will understand. So bold, all caps, make it easy for the tenant to know what their responsibilities are so that they can have a better experience. I would also control the exit strategy, meaning make sure that you have very specific guidelines on notice periods to terminate, what happens during a break lease, what holdover rent looks like, what early termination looks like, what defaulting looks like, and attorney fees, things like that. Make sure that you really are controlling that in your lease. And again, make it very easy to understand and very obvious within the lease so that there's no question at the end of the day. It doesn't look like you tried to hide anything or pull anything over on anyone. You want to assume that you and the tenant are on the same team and you both are there to have a good experience. You want to enter that relationship with that assumption. If you do that, you're going to be far more likely to succeed because your lease is very transparent and clear so that both of you can have a good relationship. I think that's how you look at the lease. You lean off experience from others. You definitely work with an attorney. And then as you go, you kind of build the lease to where it would create the best team experience and go from there. As far as fees come into play, you want to be very transparent with your fees. We have started a fee list on page 1, and then we put each section that the tenant can reference to find out about the fees, read about why they're being charged, how much they are throughout the lease. So the fees are on a very clear fee table. It is what fees are mandatory, what fees are optional for the tenant if they make certain decisions or if they choose certain things, what fees might they encounter. We make this very obvious so that they can never question what fees we're charging or what decisions they make. They're going to know exactly how much it's going to cost if they choose to do certain things like break a lease early and things like that. So I would just be very transparent with that lease. You're going to have a better experience as a landlord. The resident's going to have a better experience renting that home from you. And I think that's the best route to take. Structuring your lease like this should be a good start to protect yourself from common landlord mistakes.